Welcome to the Liberty Flames podcast channel. Time now to take an inside look at the Flames' next opponent.
Now they're going to flip-flop and move receivers around. Two to the right. They bring back to the backfield Johnson. Jefferson on the snap. There it is. Wants to run to his right. Looking to throw. He's hit. Throws back in the end zone. It's incomplete! No flags! The Rebels win! 52-51! What a football game!
That call courtesy of David Kellum from Learfield. David's the radio voice of the Ole Miss Rebels and has been on that post since calling Ole Miss baseball as a freshman on campus in 1978. Liberty plays at Ole Miss Saturday, and we caught up with David Kellum, the voice of the Ole Miss Rebels, on this week's Liberty Flames podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back inside our Liberty Flames podcast. I'm Alan York. Liberty on the road at Ole Miss coming up on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern kickoff. It's our pleasure to be joined by the longtime voice of the Rebels, David Kellum. David, great to catch up with you. Before we kind of dive into this ball game, which obviously around college football is garnering a lot of attention, very intrigued about your story. You're an Ole Miss guy, and you've been the radio voice for a long time. What's it been like to be that guy in the community that the fans can always turn on that radio or now the digital platforms and know that you'll always be there to give that score and all that good stuff?
It's been fun, Alan. Obviously, these jobs are hard to get. I mean, they really are. There's more opportunity now than there used to be with all the live streaming and all. I teach a class at Ole Miss. I try to encourage the students. Each year I get, I'm going to replace you. Well, I'm still going. So I don't know when you're going to replace me, but there was I think an 8 or 9 year old at Meet the Rebels a couple of years ago that said he wants to grow up and be the voice of the Rebels. I said, you might be the one. I'm getting closer to the end of the journey, but it's been fun, and it's unique too that I am from here, from Oxford. And my story was that I was able to get the job, here. I've had opportunities to leave, but it's a lot of fun and getting to meet fans. And I've always considered myself, and I think all of us should, an extension of the fans. In other words, they can't be there for whatever reason. They need to listen to you or want to listen to you. And so you want them to feel like you're a good friend that's telling them everything they need to know about the game.
Most of these jobs, David, consist of football, men's basketball. Yours, like a few now, also include baseball. Would the job feel as complete if you weren't calling Ole Miss baseball?
No, Alan, it really wouldn't. I guess because I started in baseball, as a young announcer in 1977. Actually, I was 18 years old, right out of school, and I kind of tricked the campus radio station manager into thinking I was a college student. I was still in high school, but I did the SEC tournament that year, and I fell in love with baseball. SEC baseball, as you've seen, has just exploded. Our venues are incredible. I wanted to continue to do baseball when they made me the lead announcer in football and basketball. At that time, there was about 5 or 6 of us that were doing that. A lot of them have given that up because it is definitely a grind. It's tough on the family. It's tough on everything. But I've done a real good job through the years of including them, getting them to travel when they can and all that. But I was scared they might take baseball away because of that very reason, that it's such a grind to try to do all 3 sports. So I was ready to defend myself and say, I want to keep doing baseball. But our athletic director then, Warner Alford, said, hey, one thing we want you to do is keep doing baseball. And I was elated. Now, was I dumb in doing that? Maybe so. I don't know. It's a lot of games and a lot of grind involved, but I love all 3 sports. I love the change from one sport to the other. And I've been doing that a long time.
I know for me, with the advent of digital technology, with the podcasting and the things that we're doing now, like on Zooms and Teams calls and things like that, we're able to connect with people that we may or may not know and learn about the business. And you were on a podcast a couple of weeks ago with Chris Blair and LSU, and y'all were talking about your history as a disc jockey way back in the day and the names that are created when we do things like that. Dive into that part of your life and what you enjoyed about that.
Well, in high school, I was in theater and wanted to go into sports too. I played 5 sports and was average in all 5. And they finally ran me out of the track program, said you're not fast enough for track. But anyway, I knew that play-by-play was something that I was interested in doing. And we did a local radio show in Oxford at a local AM radio station. We included sports and comedy and the song of the week and all this mess. And out of that, I went into the DJ world as a local announcer, got hired and was doing sports and DJing and programming. And back then in radio, you did a little bit of everything, sales too, if you needed to. And so I was a disc jockey on 3 different formats, and I was Dave Dallas on the country station, and Diamond Dave on the top 40, and David Kay on the laid back rock deal, you know. And so we were a little theater folks. My mother was professor of theater at Ole Miss for a long time, and I really thought about going down that path, and decided that sports is where I need to be. And I started doing play-by-play that first year with the local radio station in '78. And just fell in love with it and really went down that path. It's kind of interesting because of my theater background, though. I get over the top sometimes, and people make fun of me being such a big homer. But when it says graduated from University of Mississippi on your wall on the diploma, you can be a homer. And I think our fans love it. And I just have used a lot of the theater principles in doing play-by-play.
A couple of weeks ago, our game times differed than yours, David, and I was able to stay up one Saturday night. I was listening to a couple of your broadcasts. Speaking of which, one was unique, the game at Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. We were flying back. I can't remember from where, but we were on the tarmac. We hadn't taken off yet, and so we were listening to you. I had the Varsity app on, listening to you guys talk about the end of that Tennessee game while somebody had the video stream of Tom Hart and the SEC network. So that was a unique way. Again, we talk about this digital technology of how it can bring us all together. Joined by David Kellum, radio voice of the Ole Miss Rebels. You mentioned being a homer, and my next question to you, David, is not about that, but just about how much fun your crew has calling games. Win or lose, we have responsibility to make the broadcast engaging. You guys do that at a high level, I think, and that's just a tip of the cap to you. And even your radio shows on Thursday night, very entertaining how you bring the fans into it. And I think the best broadcasters do that. From an entertainment standpoint, what do you enjoy about the job, David?
I think that making the fans feel like they're part of it. The best compliment you get, in my opinion, at least, is, hey, I felt like I was there. You know, that's the thing. You felt like I was right there with you. You know, painted a good picture and all those things. And as far as being for your team, most of the college announcers are, even if you didn't go to school there, you're really pulling for your coaches, you're pulling for your players. But I think you got to have credibility. Like, for example, this weekend we're playing a Liberty team. I know the head coach really well. And so I know how good he is. I know what an incredible offensive mind he is. And so you can't blame everything on everything else. If your team's not doing well against the Liberty, we have to give Liberty credit where credit is due. So I hope that through the years I've gotten better at that. It's more about the game and describing the game, not only playing well and wanting our team to win, but also being realistic. We're not playing well because of XYZ. We're playing well because of XYZ. We're having trouble with this opposing team. And I think that lets the fans know, yeah, I can tell my guy is for us, but he's also telling us like it is, as much as you can.
We keep talking about the advent of technology and how it's bringing audio. I rarely call it radio anymore, bringing audio into the forefront of what the fans can have access to. Specifically the SEC. I know a lot of people talked about the documentary that Kenny Chesney put out a couple of weeks ago through the SEC network, and it was phenomenal. But from on the tarmac view of radio, specifically in the SEC or audio, why do you think it has stood the test of time?
I think primarily because the passion of the fan bases. I mean, it's incredible in this league. It's something else. And I think some of the other conferences don't understand, why do you guys kind of get together? You know, in the SEC, we have a slogan, it means more. And we pull for each other to a certain extent, except I don't pull for Mississippi State hardly at all, but other than that. But, you know, there are some rivalries where that doesn't exist. But from a general overall standpoint of the league, we've learned, in our league at least, to pull for the league because it benefits everybody down the road. So in most cases, There's a camaraderie in our league amongst the announcers. We're all real close. We share information. Sure, we want to beat each other, but we stay tight pretty much throughout the course of the seasons that we deal with, and the league itself has become kind of, I don't know, combined in a way that maybe you don't see in some of the other conferences across the country. It's grown. It's gotten incredibly strong in most sports, and then you look at we go greet each other as announcers. Now, I've been to some non-conference places where the opposing announcer didn't even come down and say hi, and a good old Southern boy, I'm like, well, that's pretty sorry, you know, but it's just the thing. They're doing their job and they really don't want to chit chat. In our league, we hang out, we chit chat with the TV guys too. And so there's a camaraderie there that is beneficial too to your broadcast. You share information as well.
Joined by David Kellum, longtime radio voice of the Ole Miss Rebels. Liberty at Ole Miss coming up Saturday, 12 noon Eastern kickoff. And let's kind of dive into the matchup here. David, you mentioned Hugh Freeze a minute ago, who a lot of people ask me, what does Hugh like to work with? And right now we tape our audio show on Mondays due to the pandemic. We're still waiting to get back in a restaurant, and he puts his feet up on the table and it's like two buddies enjoying a sweet tea. I know he still has that reputation down there of just being a guy that works hard at his craft and wants the best for his teams. What do you remember about the conversations you had when he was the head coach there, and just what he was like when he was the head coach at Ole Miss?
Hugh and I, we really go back further than the head coach piece. When he became an assistant coach at Ole Miss, we were in the same church together, got to know Jill really well, and she's wonderful, and the kids are incredible. I saw his kids grow up, and so we've been friends for a while. We still share texts occasionally. I keep up with what he's doing and have done so, even though we're playing this week. It's more intense, obviously, but I've kept up with what's going on at Liberty. But he was wonderful to work with, very easy, very comfortable. We were kind of pulling in the same direction of what the image he wanted out there to be as far as Ole Miss goes, and attracting players here, because we're all our part of it is part of what he needs done too, and to bring good feelings toward the school and what have you. But our coach's show was wonderful. He was excellent in that, very entertaining. And then we did radio live on the field with him on pregame, which was really, really cool. An hour before kickoff, we had him live on the field, and he was willing to do that, which is really unique in radio. I don't know if our friendship, he said, yeah, I'll do that, or if he wanted to do it that way. But excellent coach, incredible coach, very innovative. When Hugh was here and things were going good, we knew that we had a shot to win every game we played. And in this league, that's really a comforting feeling. But he did an incredible job, and I think with Liberty, they're very, very fortunate to have Hugh, and he's doing a great job there too.
Yeah, David, he is phenomenal to work with, and asks about our families and just things that a lot of head coaches being in the role they are today don't have to do. But he's just down to earth, and we're really enjoying him being here. Let's look at your team right now. Obviously, we read the press clippings. I watched the Auburn game last week. Lane Kiffin, has been probed about the wide receiver group and how perceived thin they are coming into this game. But he mentioned about 85 different guys that could go out there, that it's the opportunity that's next up for the next people. So not probing you for anything, from intelligence standpoint, but what do you know about the health of some of those wideouts, and offensively with Matt Corral, being bothered by a sore ankle, all that good stuff that all the public knows about, David. So how about from your thoughts, offensively going into this game, where do you think this Ole Miss team is?
Well, we were 5 starters down for Vanderbilt on the offensive side of the football, and that's scary. And Chase Rogers was out as a tight end, those 3 receivers, and we lost Drummond during the course of the game early as well. Matt was banged up in the game and was already kind of beat up beforehand. So there's some truth to that. It's not all coach speak. I mean, it's a concern for sure. We've got some really talented younger receivers, but you get in our league and you get to this point and the injuries just come. We beat up on each other, and then it kicks into, okay, what kind of depth do you have? Well, we've got really good depth in the receiving room, but the experience drops off pretty dramatically once you get past Sanders Drummond especially. So we've had some cats step up, do a little bit better job. We hope we'll get some more this weekend too. The running back room is phenomenal. I think they're going to have to carry a big bulk of the load until we get the receivers back out there and going. And Matt ran some against Auburn, not as much as he's done in some previous games. Probably doesn't need to run quite as much. But he's an NFL quarterback and a gamer. I mean, he's really, really good, and very similar to what you guys have in Malik. They're very, very similar, and both can make just about any throw. They can hurt you with their feet. And so the matchup just in the quarterback spot, even though they're not going head to head on the field, is really a unique side story to this game too. But we're still concerned about injuries, and some of those are going to be, we're going to look up and see if they're dressed on game day, to see if they're playing. They've been held out of practice this week. It could be
joined by David Kellum, radio voice of Ole Miss. Final thought here, David. Defensively, DJ Durkin, the defensive coordinator, you look at the numbers last year, juxtapose them to this year. There have been some improvements, passing, rushing, defense, et cetera. Where have you seen some glimmer of hope in this defense through the first 7-8 games for you guys?
Well, before the season started, I was doing the Rebel road trip with Coach Kiffin, and we were flying to Gulfport, I think. And I said, look, I just got one question. Can we be 10 to 15% better defensively? He said, oh, we're going to be significantly better than that. Because if we were 10 or 15% better last year, we probably would have won 3 more games, because we really struggled. It was a new system. COVID put all the defenses kind of behind the 8 ball, so to speak, trying to catch up to offenses. And I think there was some truth to that, and that wasn't necessarily coach speak either. But we have improved a good bit defensively. Do we need some more pieces to the puzzle in recruiting? Absolutely. But Sam Williams off the edge has done a great job. Campbell in the middle has been really, really good as well. There's been times where opponents have taken advantage of us a little bit in the backfield, but we're coming on there too. So we're definitely better defensively. Are we going to hold you to 0 points? No. Can we keep you in a level where our offense can flourish? Yes.
David, I'm going to have some fun with this with this next thought, and I promise I'll let you go. Through our podcast apps, I've been able to listen to pretty much all of your Rebel Talk shows this week. And your partner, is it Brandon?
Yeah, Hudspeth.
Okay, it seems like to me there's been a joke of John Rice Plumlee, and there's a question about him in every show, and Lane, he plays along with it. Has that become just a constant theme? And if I tune in tonight, will I hear a reference to John Rice Plumlee?
Very good chance that you will. John Rice is a beloved player. He plays baseball and football. And of course, he was the starting quarterback when Corral went down, had a phenomenal year with his feet under the Rich Rodriguez system. But this one's a little bit different. Matt Corral is a phenomenal player. So he kind of got caught up in the logjam in the quarterback room. He's now playing a little wide out, and it's taken a little while to get more targets, but he's starting to get more, and that's kind of neat. But there's some fans that want him to play every snap. And I think it's based on the success he had that year where he just ran all over everybody. He's a great guy. He's very, very talented. And I agree with him to a certain extent. We got to get him in the mix more. Baseball-wise, he made a tremendous jump from year 1 to year 2. I think he's got a great opportunity to be one of our starting outfielders and not in the mix. And so it's fun to watch. He's an incredible personality kid too. And I think, I kind of laugh. I think he's got some NIL deals, and he's a backup quarterback and a backup outfielder. We got NIL deals,
Wow.
But he's very, very capable, and his career moves on. I think he's going to be very valuable to us in both football and baseball. But you'll hear a fan that'll say, why are we not using John Rice more?
Liberty at Ole Miss coming up on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern. You can watch it on the SEC network or listen to us on the Liberty Flame Sports Network from Van Wagner. He's the voice of the Rebels, David Kellum. David, appreciate the time. Have a good broadcast on Saturday.
All right, Alan, looking forward to you coming down, getting that Grove a little while. You got to have a little Grove time before you have to work.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's opponent preview on the Liberty Flames podcast channel. Join us next time as we take an inside look at the Flames' next ball game.